This is going to be a quick tutorial on how to use an add-on for forms called Form Publisher. Now, a couple of reasons to use this is one, because it gives you a convenient way to give feedback to your students, and along with their answers to different questions on a form, they can also see the correct answers if you want to create that in the Form Publisher. Another reason to use this is because our elementary schools, a lot of them have email turned off, so it's inconvenient. It's hard to do things when the functionality within Google is to send an email to students, and this doesn't send an email. What it does is it shares a document with students so that they can get that shared document and don't have to access their email in order to do that. So let's look at how it works. First off, I have a form that I created, and then the second piece that you need is you need a document that goes along with this form. So if you look, here is my form that I have, and I just used several different types of questions so that you could see the different functionality of it, between multiple choice up here and some grid type questions down here, and a mix in between. So Form Publisher works with any of those questions. And then the second thing that you need is a document. Now, the functionality of this document is basically you create a document, and the document can look like anything that you want as long as you use a little bit of code that brings in the answers that students choose in the form. And that bit of code is this right here, and it's 2 underlines and 2 hashtags at the beginning and at the end of each of your questions. So here's basically the process that I used to do this. I first created a form where I had the answer or the questions that I wanted, and then I went in and I created a document. And again, the document can look like anything that you want, but in this document what I did is I created the set of code that I need, which is just underscore underscore hashtag hashtag at the beginning, and then at the end is hashtag hashtag underscore underscore. And let's say that you have 5 questions. You could take this and you could just copy this so that you don't have to type it out every time. You could just copy this 5 times, or you could copy it wherever you want in the document as many times as you need. Anyway, so I did that, and then I went through, and I'm going to erase that because I already have them set up down here. Then I went through and I went one question at a time from my Google form. And so it takes a little bit of time to set this up depending upon how many questions you have. But you can take each question and just copy it. So I copied this question. And then you can go into where you made your bit of code. And as long as you go right in the right spot in the middle, you can copy it. And then what it'll do is it links the question here. And more than just the question, it links the student's answer to that question to the Google document. So what it'll do is it'll insert their answer wherever it sees this bit of code. So the student, what the student sees, they don't see all these underscores and hashtags and stuff. What they see is their answer choices. So my basic setup here is I put all of the questions in bold, and then I put the student's answer right underneath the question, and then after that I put the correct answers to the questions, and I did them in multiple colors just so that you could see a little variety when you looked at this. But you know, realistically you might do all the same color. You know, maybe all the answers are in red or green or whatever. Alright, so once you do that, once you copy all of those over, so one at a time, you copy each of the questions over into here, and you get it to format the way that you want. Then you go into your Google form and you load your Form Publisher. If you have not yet gotten the add-on, you need to go to Get Add-ons and find Form Publisher, and then add it to your add-ons. But once you've gotten it, you just highlight Form Publisher here and then go on over to Configure and click on that. And then there's a couple of setup things that you need to do. So it'll run this setup over here. And there are 3 things that you need to do in this setup. The first one is that you need to select your template. And this template is the document that you're going to use. So you go over here and you hit the select button, and then you search your documents for the correct template. And you can also use spreadsheets, but I typically use documents for my answer choices. In any case, and if you want to use spreadsheet, that would work too. You could have your question on one column and your answers on the next column, and then your correct answers on the column after that, and it might even look better. But in any case, once you find that document, you load it, And then what this thing, Form Publisher, does is it basically finds the different places in that document where you told it that you wanted to put answer choices. Now, as the students fill out the form, they create their own answer document. So you need to name that answer document. So it gives you an opportunity to name it right here. I just called this TL because the first place I did this for was Turtle Lake, and then Form Publisher Example. And then the next thing here was in a destination folder. And the destination folder is just where you want the documents to go. Now once you put it in a folder, it'll create a new folder to house all of those documents. So it created this folder, TL Form Publisher Example. Alright, and then the last thing that it does is it searches the document that you have created for all of those sets of code so that it identifies the sets of code that you put in and then the questions that you linked to it. So all of these should have a green check. If anything has an X, it means that you probably made a mistake. Now on mine, the reason that I have that is because on this example document, I had a blank question where I just wanted to show what the code looked like over here. So that's the one that it thinks isn't working, and it put an X there. And the reason that it put an X there is because I did the correct code, but the wording here is not matching one of the questions that I have on my form. So that's why it did that. If I wanted to fix that and have it be a question on here, I could certainly do that and get this X to be a green check, and then I would be good to go. And then I can save that, and it will create a Form Publisher document for this. Now, when my students then go and they take this form online, what it'll do is it'll create the answer document again, and I'll just look at an example answer document if I double click on one. So this is the folder that has all the answer documents. So this is in my drive, but each student that answers this will have it shared with them, so they get one of the documents shared with them. So let me double click on this one. And it looks a little bit similar to what we originally did, but instead of all the underlines and the hashtags, the answers are put in the places of those. So here's my question, here's the answer, and here's the correct answer. Question, answer, correct answer. Question, answer, correct answer. Or whatever format you used to set this up. But that's basically how it works and how the setup is. Now, since this is shared with your students, they already have access to it, and then they can see their answers, and if you put the correct answers, they can see the correct answers to the documents that they did. So this is a quick tutorial on form publishing,